Welcome to Legends of Grayskull, the podcast that dives deep into the mythology of Masters of the Universe, with your hosts Matthew Dooch and Shawn Scavarna. News, reviews, remasterings and more are just ahead on Legends of Grayskull.
Hello everybody and welcome to Legends of Grayskull, the fan podcast where we discuss the history, the mystery, the magic, and mythology of He-Man, She-Ra, Eternia, Etheria, Nordor, Primus, New Adventures, Old Adventures, Ladybird, UK Annuals, comics, mini-comics, even Netflix, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe! I'm Matthew Dooch, here again with Shawn Scavarna. Shawn! I want to take a special moment here. We gotta get real here. We gotta get serious. We're gonna pull back the curtain a little bit here. Normally we do these recordings pretty much, in a vacuum, let's say.
Yeah.
We try not to timestamp too much or anything like that because we want everybody to enjoy these as they come, whenever they get to them. If they find them years down the road, whatever. But today, I've got to break it. I know you told me not to. Eric told me not to. He is furious right now. But today marks a very special occasion. Today, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the podcaster, the artist extraordinaire, a man of many talents. It's not Eric. It is a very special day here for the legend to my Grayskull. Shawn Scavarna, we want to wish you a very happy birthday from all of us here at Legends of Grayskull. Eric as well, even though he's very mad at me for breaking format. Yes, guys, today we are recording. It is actually on Shawn's birthday, his 34th birthday. Happy birthday, Shawn.
I wish I was 34 again. That'd be awesome. Oh, man. It's like my life started at 30, I feel like. But yeah.
I think a lot of us feel that way, honestly.
My 20s were like, what the heck? Moving on from there. Now, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm the reciprocal of 34 today. But yeah, it's crazy to think, wow, I've been on this planet for 43 years now. My contribution is podcasting.
Throwing my opinion out don't forget artist extraordinaire. Anybody who has got a Scavarna original on their wall is a very lucky person.
Yeah, and that's actually, we said that before, but yeah, that's how you and I actually got the ball rolling to where we are here with this. So there you have it. But And speaking of that, Casey and Mary, your thank you art is actually in the mail to you. And I know I reached out to Casey over the weekend about it, but yeah, I finally got a chance to send those out because he gave us those Masterverse He-Man and Skeletor back when the show was premiering and all that stuff, which was amazing and awesome. So thank you again for that. So your thank yous are in the mail. And yeah, it is crazy. It's kind of cool to actually say, "Hey, today is the day that I'm recording, and it is my birthday." It's like a little bit of a time capsule today for me.
There you go. So. And real quick here, I'm going to break with format even more.
Oh my God!
That's the day it is. And I also actually looked at your wonderful questions, comments, geekdom post, which I usually don't do. But I wanted to do this because I had a feeling it was going to turn out this way. We will save the questions for the end of the episode. But before that, and so Shawn doesn't have to read them to himself, we have from Robert Reed Emery, happy birthday, with the wonderful happy birthday e-card of He-Man on Battle Cat. Tony Carpenter, happy birthday, with confetti going up. I should have effects here. Tomas Rydberg, happy birthday, Shawn. More confetti. We're going to have to clean up the studio here when we're done. JP Casto, happy birthday, Shawn. Taylor Whitaker, happy birthday. Manny Gonzalez, HB2U. RJ Clark, happy birthday, brother. Kelly Randor Edmonds. Birthday cake confetti, happy birthday! Yep. But you still have to wait until Wednesday for the new comic to drop.
Yeah, I know.
Jason Torrance has a happy birthday. I hope you have a great day. Jake Vega, happy birthday. Mary Goya, happy birthday. More confetti. And, of course, Casey Quinn, happy birthday. Sean. Eric, can you get a minute to start cleaning up all this confetti?
Well, thank you, everyone.
You can't say that on the podcast, Eric. I don't
it's
care
a family
if you're
show.
Off mic. Watch your language. Warning.
You can't get good help nowadays. That's all there is to it. But yeah, thank you everyone for that. I only did that not to do hey, throw everybody happy birthdays at me. I did it more as it's kind of fun for once I'm doing this on my birthday. But yeah, it turned into a bit of that kind of a post, and no complaints because I appreciate all the good wishes, and it's really crazy to go like, wow, we're doing the podcast and these people are, throwing the love out there. So there you go. I mean, it's awesome to have that kind of a fan community that we're building here at Legends of Grayskull like that. So absolutely. Thank you.
And perfect segue there, because I did want to take a minute to talk about the community, Legends of Grayskull, give everyone kind of a status report. I know I have been a lot quieter on social media than I usually have. And, obviously the podcast, we're getting our regular stuff out. Not much extras right now. It's just, like I mentioned before, this is a very interesting time in my life right now. I've left my job of many years, taken on a new job. This is normally our busy season anyways, because I got the kids and football and cheer and swim and everything else. So don't worry, guys. We are going to be doing some stuff coming up here. We have big plans in the works. Just bear with us. We will be getting more posts up on the group. We will be getting a bit more extra stuff in there and everything else. It's coming. The other thing I wanted to touch base on, as obviously everyone knows, we're into October now, and All-Star September did not happen this year again. It was just kind of a victim of all these major life changes, and we just really didn't have the extra time. That is a big endeavor, and unfortunately this year it had to be shelved. I promise you now it will be back next September, and we're still tweaking it. It might be in a little different format, but we will get back to All-Star September. The trivia contest, Yuka, you will have your chance to defend your title, but since you're the first one, now you get to hold that title for 2 years uncontested. So, and I had thought about, kind of doing it late, but really I think it's just best at this point in time to just roll to next year. So
yeah.
But yeah, so that'll be back next year. We got some fun stuff coming to the show. There will be some changes with the Facebook group. That's another reason there hasn't been a lot going on there. Facebook has changed a lot of stuff recently. And I know, Sean, we haven't really talked about this yet, but it's stuff that's been going on in my head. They've really changed up. It's always been a public group to get word out there about the show, but the Facebook has really changed up their public groups lately. So there is the potential of us taking it private, or maybe we're not sure yet. But there are definitely some things that Facebook is doing with public groups. And on Facebook for a minute here, since we're on YouTube, we can't get kicked off of Facebook. Sean, I know you have your art page. I don't know how much you've noticed of it, but Facebook is really putting a stranglehold on the pages and in the groups, where I'm getting bombarded constantly to pay to advertise my posts or my groups.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, our posts aren't reaching the majority of people they used to reach. And it's like, but then I'm getting hit up for like, hey, give me $5 and I'll get your post in front of 1,000 people. And it's like, really? Like, this is what you've resorted to?
Yeah. once I started the art group, which I have not updated in forever because honestly, like you, I have so many things pulling me in different directions that I don't even think about the art group. I usually just post an art group for the podcast now. Yeah, I did that for maybe like a month or two just to see what would happen. And honestly, I wasn't that impressed by the reach of that kind of stuff, you know? So I feel like the people that want to find us, they're listening to the podcast, they're going to go to the group one way or the other, whether it's public or private.
Right.
And, you know, that's where if they want to interact with us or however, right there, you know, it's simple as that. And their ideas, Facebook's ideas for some of this stuff does make me go like, you said, that's your solution. This is what your idea is.
Like you really want to turn this into a nickel and dime platform.
Yeah.
Like we're going to basically hold your post hostage unless you throw me $5. And even then, like you said, I did it once, just like same thing. I just want to be like, let's see what this yields. And it yield basically nothing, but then it hit me when they had like, oh, well, you did $5 this last time. Like $10 will get you in front of twice as many people. Yeah. And it's like, guys, really, your Facebook, your shares are worth how much? And you got to be like, hey, slip me $5. Come on, $10. Come on, but you got anything? You got any change? Like, come on. So yeah. So I guess it's just kind of cogs are turning. We're trying to decide how best to kind of promote the podcast going forward. I mean, we will obviously we'll keep a presence on Facebook. It's where we kind of started really publicizing advertising, and it's where we met most of you guys. He-Man.org has been another great resource. But yeah, it's just kind of a weird place right now, and we're just kind of regrouping and seeing where we want to go. On that note, obviously, the place we found the most success with the podcast is obviously on YouTube, which is no surprise, as we formatted this from the very beginning to be a, video-based podcast. So, and we are approaching a milestone rapidly. So I did want to put out the call. We'll mention it at the end of the show, but if you're watching us, if you enjoy what we're putting out, just take a second and just click that subscribe button down there if you're not already, because we are about 100 people away from 1,000, and that is huge. In our second year of the show, we're approaching 1,000 subscribers. I am both humbled and amazed again by the support of the community. And it'd be great if we could smash through that 1,000 ceiling before our third year anniversary in January. So, and like I teased many times, we got something big planned for 1,000. Something big will wind up in one of the subscribers' homes. So, please make sure to subscribe. Sean, you got anything?
No, I've been good lately. I mean, the best that I could offer up, if I remember right, let me grab them here. I showed them to you off the show, but this is one of the most recent ones that I was able to get in the last month.
Nice.
Scapular, the Crypt Breaker from Mythic Legions. He was one of those. He's a first release from the Kickstarter.
Yeah, the 1.0.
The 1.0, and out of all of those, this guy just visually was one where I'm like, if I didn't love this line because of the knights and all this other stuff, this guy would have still won me over. So, and yes, the basis of Keltis, which is the Skeletor homage figure. So very happy to have him on the shelf. And yeah, I got a few things because of my birthday that I ended up going in on over the weekend.
Nice,
but they're not here yet. So, but yeah, I got a notification actually last night. The backer kit on the Mythic Legions video game. They took that out now too, and I'm like, oh god. I'm like swapping funds real quick to make sure it's covered and all that stuff. But I'm actually pretty happy that I'll have a couple of Warriors pretty soon. The 2-pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down that rabbit hole, but I'm trying to be more responsible than I was in the last 2 months about it right now. So,
but see,
so what about you?
One thing I like though about the Mythic Legions, especially pre-ordering them direct from the Horsemen, is that they take the money. Like they just take it, and you're done. And in a year or so, you get this nice big package at your front door, and that's really the way to go, in my opinion. I'm honestly getting tired. As good as Big Bad Toy Store is, in shipping and everything else, I really wish I could convince them to just take my funds up front when I order it. Like, just take it, and then I'm done. And I'm scrolling through that pre-order list, and I'm like, oh man, and then stuff starts getting delayed, and I'm like, man, this was supposed to be like 2 months apart. But it's already bumped back a month, so I don't like it. I prefer it this way, where it's like, okay, it's done. You took the money, and now I just have to wait.
Well, one way that I actually circumvented them in the last couple weeks, because we've talked about it off air, but yeah, like that whole deal where Big Bad Toy Store, there is no deposit, which is nice because I'm one of those people where I'm like, ooh, and I'll put something on as a pre-order, and then by the time the pre-order hits, either my interest isn't there, or oh god, I gotta sell something quick because I gotta get the funds for that, and we didn't plan X, Y, and Z between that point with like the budget and all this stuff. So I'll throw a shout out, Jeremy Gerard. In the Mythic Legions Cabal, he does Mythic Conversations on YouTube. He is involved in a legionshop.com, and they do a non-refundable deposit on there. So just recently, I stopped doing the Big Bad Toy Store orders for the one wave, and now I have $10 a pop for the pre-orders that I just did. Nice. And I'm like, it's still going to be a chunk of change when that stuff comes in, but that's still $30 I don't owe. And I'm locked in on that. And you know what? Now I'm not going to say, oh, I'm not going to do this. I'm in, and I'm locked in for that. And, like I agreed. I'd love for them to take the money up front, just like the Horsemen do. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it's like, hey, $10 is still $10. And I just put in 30 for the ones that I wanted, because there was 3 of the All-Star wave I wanted. And like, you know what? I'm in. There's no way I'm gonna cancel that. And yeah, Big Bad Toy Store, that their model is cool if you're a window shopper, but if you're somebody that that you have a lot of different directions you're going in, that is definitely a rabbit hole I don't want to travel down, because I re-looked through my pre-orders recently. And I was like, oh my god, and I started canceling that night, going like, I know I can't do all of this right now, especially if it all hit, I'm screwed. So that is the nice thing about Big Bad Toy Store. You can go back, you can get your thing in, but then you can also freely go back there and be like, I'm dropping this. And that's probably why Big Bad Toy Store does it that way, because it's a lot less hassle than having to issue refunds every time someone goes, oh, never mind. And the $4 shipping is actually quite, that's sexy to me. It's like $4 shipping for how much? That's amazing. But I never have enough at one time to do that the proper way.
I'm holding out. I've got a handful of items. I probably got like 4 or 5 items sitting in my pile of loot, and I'm waiting for something big to come in. Like I've got all, the next Masterverse waves on pre-order, like the whole wave. Like if something like that hits, then I'll be like, okay, shit. I'm trying to get up to like 10 or 12 items, so that I can really like push it through and feel like I'm saving something.
I just thought of something. I do have one other thing. Can we pause for a second so I can get it? I completely forgot.
Let's go get it. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. All right, guys, let's see what Shawn grabbed.
So the other night, I'm taking out the trash, and this guy with a mask is walking across my yard. And I'm like,
as they do
I looked at him
in your neighborhood. That's
and I'm standard. Like, can I help you? And he's holding a Target bag, and I'm like, Okay. He pulls down the mask, and it's my cousin Alan. And Alan...
Oh, I was going to guess Jesse.
No, I would have known Jesse, the hair.
Even with the mask.
But, no, he had really, really close cropped hair and all this stuff. And I'm like, what? Who is this person? He pulls down his mask, and he's smiling at me. It's my cousin Alan Myers. He's listened to the podcast for a while. I actually got him to start watching He-Man and all this.
Nice.
But a common love that we have is the Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
So I gave him my toys when I was older, and that was how he started his collection when he was a kid. And he just out of nowhere comes up and he's like, "Happy early birthday!" And I'm like, "Huh?"
Yeah.
He hands me this.
Oh, nice! The reissue.
So he got me the reissue Leonardo.
Yeah.
And I'm just there like, holy crap. So this is one I didn't have to go after. And that was really cool. So I told him I'd say thank you on the show. And there you go. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. So,
very
nice. I did have something else.
I actually saw those for the first... I usually don't see much in my area. But with the new job, I've been traveling around a little bit. And I saw the whole wave in one of the stores. I didn't pick any up but it was just nice to see them. They're nice to see a Walmart that was stacked. That was the most unusual thing.
I'll tell you what, he was the first one I ever got and all this stuff. I actually would love to track the 4 of them down and just have them on card and all that, because there is something to be said about it. And this, to me, when I see this, I'm like, I know why people love Origins, because this is the ending of my childhood when I see these figures, because it was Turtles and Transformers that were really that era of me before I was like leaving to go do comics and a lot of girls and all that stuff.
Sure.
But it's like, Ninja Turtles, that was a big one. So I definitely appreciated that. And it's just really cool. Out of the blue, here's a Leonardo. I'm like, sweet.
I mean, it would have been better if it was Raphael, but
maybe on your birthday. So anyway, I hijacked the show.
If you want to hear more Turtles talk, check out Legends of Grayskull Off-World, episode 2. Yeah, I think we've only done the 2. That's another thing. Update. We do have plans for more Off-Worlds, and I was just thinking over the weekend I need to get a message out to the Off-World crew and schedule a departure. So that'll be coming soon as well, I promise. We're getting back on track.
The next one I'm actually really excited for, because the topic we're going to cover is one that when I first saw it, I wouldn't have expected it to be as near and dear to my heart as it became, but it grows on you. And it's, without giving away what it is, well, one guy will know what it is, but he doesn't listen. But my best friend in high school, Nick, his mom worked for a newspaper, and she would get the advanced screening tickets all the time. It was usually, it wasn't like the early critic stuff, but it'd be like, either the premiere night or like a week before the premiere. If the premiere's on the 14th, they'd have a special screening on the 7th. That's basically like invite only. And she would get those, they'd send a bunch of tickets to all the news, but she'd get tickets and she'd usually give them to us. And we saw a lot of movies that way. And this one, it was one of those that it's like, okay, that looks good. Like, I'm sure I'll see it eventually, but then he got the tickets for it, so we went to see it in theaters. And I am so glad we did, because it's one I probably wouldn't have on its own. Like, I would have ran it from Blockbuster, but I wouldn't have gone out of my way to see it. But yeah, to see it in theaters, it was amazing, and like you said, it just blew my mind, like how great it was. Going in with those low expectations helps a lot of times, and just seeing it and the story and everything. And then once it came out on VHS, I ended up buying it, and many, many rewatches later, it's just one of those movies that's always in the back of my mind. Instantly quotable. Great cast. Great storyline.
laughter, death, like love, like it's got everything. Like it is an amazing movie, and it does not get enough credit. I see it here and there, but it does not. I still don't feel it gets the credit it deserves.
Well, what's funny is that one came out at Christmas, the year it came out, if I remember right.
It's probably around there. And, that sounds about right.
And typically, my mom, it would be my mom and I going to the movies. My dad usually was I'm going to stay at home, and he didn't really like going out to do that kind of stuff. And it was Christmas morning, and she goes, "Let's go see this." Yeah. And I'm like, "You want to see that?" And I was completely like, this is more of my mom's thing with the fandom that it involves than my thing. But I've been involved in it.
Real quick, it was actually Christmas Day was the release date, like not. So advanced screening, we probably saw it like the week before or something. So,
but it was definitely one where I was sitting there and just going, okay, like it was almost like I'm happy to go to the movies. This is one my mom picked. Okay, we're sitting there, and by the end of it, I was like, right, so worth it, worth watching this. And I laughed my butt off so many times in that thing. Plus, like, there's some heartfelt moments in it where I'll get chills even to this day when I remember it, and I'm like, I shouldn't be feeling this because this movie is not meant to be that.
But it is.
But it did it. And it did it so well.
And it was not marketed that way. That's the thing.
No.
Like you said, I went in just expecting a slapstick comedy. And it has those moments.
Or a farce kind of a thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It has those moments. But at the same time, when it gets emotional and real, it gets freaking real. Like,
yeah.
Like, they might not all make it out of this. You know what I mean? It was.
We're like borderline on having the whole thing right now because this is like.
I am so proud of us that I don't feel we said anything that instantly gives it away.
Not at all. Which for me, I'm actually impressed for me not doing it because I'm usually the one that messes up.
I was thinking my words very well. So, yes, episode 3 is coming soon. We've got to get back to Secret of the Ooze. That's on the roster.
Yep.
But yeah, then so guys, if you missed the Off-World episode, so far we've done Zack Snyder's Justice League and the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. They're in our regular YouTube, but they are listed as Legends of Grayskull Off-World, so just search for that, and you guys can check them out.
Yep.
So, speaking of things that I went in with low expectations and was blown away by, look at that, look at that! Segues.
It's butter. It's butter this time. It's amazing how it's all flowing into it. It is.
Us all. Today, we are discussing a 2021 Netflix original animated series, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe!
Yes.
So, let's start with the expectations. Shawn, I know we've covered this here and there on the show, but just for review purposes, how'd you feel leading up to the premiere of this series?
Before the trailers hit, because the trailers was where it really, really got me. It was very much is this thing happening? Because we have the initial, the silhouette He-Man holding up the sword image, and we had the Skeletor close up with Shadow, and we didn't hear a whole lot out of this one beyond that.
Right.
And I think the only other thing that we got was the Mattel investors. Here's the full He-Man shot of He-Man on Battle Cat. And there really was like is this thing coming out this year? Like, nobody hears anything about this.
I didn't think it was. Yeah. I really did not expect to see this in 2021 at all because there'd been silence.
Yeah. And my investment in it was pretty minimal because there wasn't a lot to go on except for those images. And once the trailers hit, then suddenly I'm like, wait, what? Like, wait a minute, this actually looks pretty fun. And from that point, I actually had more excitement going into it because we went through the Revelation stuff. Yep. And there was a lot of stuff, baggage-wise, that came with that one, unfortunately. And for me, at least, watching the trailer and getting into this show, it felt like I needed this. This was my palate cleanser where I could watch something that didn't have to be chapter and verse what I grew up with, and it could have fun. It could let's just do something. And let's make an adventure series, basically using He-Man and stuff. And the way that my kids reacted to the trailers only solidified my excitement, because both of my kids were like, "You are not watching this without us." And I'm like, okay. So that was very telling of what we were about to have coming out when the release happened.
Yeah.
What about you?
I was the same way. It was lots of just radio silence. I didn't think it was coming out this year. And then that trailer dropped out of nowhere. And I guess, like I'd said on here before, I was always hoping that this was going to be just more of a He-Man series. Like, just a more typical Filmation, like, for a new generation. Like, let's just have some adventures, some stories, we don't have to rehash everything that's come before. I mean, it'd be nice to have some nods and everything, but I don't need the CGI Dragon's Gift. I don't need CGI Diamond Ray of Disappearance. I just need a fun story that embodies the spirit. And then when that trailer dropped, for as different as it was, almost everybody in the trailer instantly, I'm like, oh, like that's obviously Skeletor, He-Man, Battle Cat, very easy. But the villains especially, it's like, oh man, they actually, like, I know who they are. That was a big thing. The heroes were a little harder, so I was iffy on them. But for the most part, it felt like it was going to be a fun show in today's kind of art style,
Yeah.
And same thing. My kids saw the trailer. They were loving it. The younger kids were. My oldest daughter is 13 now, so she was playing cool. She's like, that looks dumb, whatever. But but they we sat down on the premiere night, and I think we watched 2 episodes. Maybe we only watched 1 episode together. But it was funny because even my 13-year-old daughter, like, she came into the room as we were starting up, and she's like, this looks stupid. And then she sits down on the couch. And, it starts off, and she's like, well, that's dumb. They don't look like they're supposed to. And then she gets a little more comfortable on the couch. And then... it was kind of that... And then eventually, about halfway through the episode, she's just sitting there watching it, like, like she had to play cool at first, but eventually she sat down and watched it, and they ended up sprinting ahead of me because with my work schedule I wasn't able to sit down with them, so they finished it long before I could. And I found it funny because they were trying, especially early in the series there, as everyone's kind of getting their powers and everything, they were trying to guess, like, who was who. Because it was different enough for them that, like, they didn't... And even I recall, when we were talking about it, we stumbled on Cronus for a minute. A lot of us assumed that the Cronus was Keldor. Until, in that trailer where Keldor ends up appearing later. But for them, they weren't thinking about the trailer or anything. They're just watching it, and they kept... That's the one thing my oldest daughter kept going. She's like, well, Skeletor looks stupid now and everything, because she was talking about Cronus all the time. I'm just sitting there like, just wait, just wait, just wait.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it was also kind of fun for me personally. Going, I don't know who everybody is. Like after the trailer revealed the Keldor design, then I pretty much went to Cronus for the green face character. But like we had the General Dolos, and then in the trailer we saw that guy that ended up being Rakaz. And he, until the episode he premiered in, I wasn't sure who Rakaz was going to be. You know, we didn't even hear his name until the episode. Then in the episode, hearing the name and everything else, I'm like, oh, okay, now I know where we are. But that was fun for me. I mean, I've been living this stuff for 35 years. And for me to be able to sit there, watch trailer, and then go, I don't know where they're going with everything. Like that was awesome for me. Like it's the same thing with the Marvel movies. And so whenever they do something unexpected, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming. I'm like, I didn't see that coming. It takes me back to my childhood where you watched an episode of Filmation and you didn't know what was going to happen. Yep. Is Grainimer going to be good or evil? Is he going to help them? You know? That you know, we're about to get deep in this series, but that was probably the most fun for me, is me sitting here going, I don't know exactly what's going to bring. And even my kids, they'd like ask me, they'd be like, well, what's going to happen with you know, with Duncan or Tila or whatever? I'm like, I don't know. They're like, but you love this stuff. I said, I know, but I don't know. You know, I can guess based on their prior iterations and my prior experience, but that doesn't mean jack shit anymore. So, and that's the nice best part for me. It's wonderful.
It's one of the most unexpected surprises I've had all year, honestly, because for me being who I am, and I always start sentences like this, but it's true. It's like the stuff that we had when we were kids, I'm okay that that's there. You know, like I'm completely fine with Filmation being in the 80s, and that was what I grew up watching every day after school. But let's progress something. Let's do something where I don't know what's going to happen every time. And like 2000X, that was the closest to that, where I was literally on the edge of my seat watching Council of Evil, going like, where are they going to go with the next episode? And then I didn't have to wait like Matt did when I was watching it. But when we got to that next episode, I'm just like cheering my head off and going, I haven't cheered on a He-Man cartoon since I was probably 6. You know, like this is good stuff. And then for me, at least, like I said, it didn't have all of that baggage of all these people giving so much crap to the showrunners, to the story, and all this stuff that Revelation had to deal with. And it was just such a good, like, I mean, talk about a good pairing. You had the one that it was trying to progress what we had as kids. And then we have this one where now we can be kids again, enjoying something and going, I don't know where this is going. And I'm right there with my kids going, I got to see what happens next. You know, it's great.
And it got deep. It got dark. It hit some stuff. I'm like, okay. So, but before we get into the story right quick here, we don't need to break down every character, but probably let's go. Who's your favorite character? Try and think design and personality, and then who's your least favorite character, design and personality, and we can kind of hit some of our big things.
I think the one that really
real quick here, it might help you. I just saw this. Maybe we go favorite and least favorite, hero and villain.
Yeah, I was actually going to do it that way because it's a little overwhelming to have everybody.
Yeah,
but
so let's
hero-wise,
let's do heroes first, then we'll come back with the baddies.
All right, hero-wise, I'm going to actually throw one at you that might shock you, but I'm going to go with Cringer.
Yep. Same here.
Cringer for me, he was what Orko was to Revelation. He was this heart and soul to this series, and I loved the portrayal of him. I couldn't think of anything I didn't like about that character, and the amount that they brought to him in this was
right.
I just was like, man, if I was playing with kids outside, I'd be happy being Battle Cat to play. That would have been awesome.
His personality was so vastly different, yet at the same time, it really worked for him. Him being the leader of the Green Tiger tribe, being in the jungle, and being older. I mean that's like he's the voice of reason. He's the I'll throw it at you. He's the Cup of the group. Like from Transformers.
Exactly.
He's seen it all. He's done it all, and now he's got these powers to help back him up because he's getting older. He lost his claws. He's a very well voice acted, very well portrayed, and honestly, I love the redesign. It is instantly Battle Cat, but it's souped up to the next generation. And that tragic backstory of him losing his claws, how Rakaz took them out because he wouldn't fight in his tournament pit. Like that is, oh my god! And basically, for those of you who haven't watched the show, which if you haven't watched the show, why are you here? And I guess I probably should have said spoilers alert, but yes, we're spoiling everything. But yeah, when we met Rakaz, and that was pretty late in the season. Really, and then he's got this whole backstory of how he got his claws taken out because he wouldn't fight in the tournaments, and then basically he broke out and he formed a tribe which took in all of these orphans and everything and just protected everybody in the forest and kind of made this community like that. And this is Cringer, and this is all before he gets the power of Grayskull. It's like, now I love Filmation Cringer. I love Mike Young Cringer. I've always loved the Scaredy Cat portrayal, but this has really like kind of flipped on its head, and I love him as like a separate but equal, And then the things he does once he gets the power and Master of the Wild. Yes, he is excellent redesign, excellent character. And he would have been my choice too. I'm going to throw one at it just so that we can talk about a few different people. I'm actually going to go Teela. And again, this is a Teela that is vastly different. She's got the white hair. She's got, they've really leaned into her magical capabilities, which we all know have lied within Teela, dormant. Couple episodes here and there have hinted at it, explored it. The biggest one's probably the Eternity War comic, where she actually became, the sorceress in place of her mother. But this one really starts it off with she is a magic user. She is a mage. She is an orphan. And probably her most interesting character development comes as a result of them aging down Duncan so that Man-at-Arms is a peer to them instead of the mentor. So right there, Teela loses the little familial support system that she has. And it doesn't really change the character, but if anything, gives more credence to the Teela feels alone, the orphan Teela angle that we explore. That combined with her magic using and being a former apprentice of Evelyn, who would become Evelyn, it really makes for an interesting story. And how basically this whole thing is her journey right from the beginning of becoming the sorceress is a real cool twist when she finds the staff once they enter Grayskull, and that's basically her whole power-up is her becoming the sorceress. Great outfit, great design. I love those wings and her hair that kind of fade into that temporal portal, that star effect that they have. It's one of those I figured out who it was in the trailer that had to be Teela, but I wasn't sure about how. You could tell they were going the magic route with her, and I didn't like the idea of that. But once we got into it, I'm like, oh my god, this works so well. Like she is really one of the characters I feel the most for.
Yeah, she's one of the ones that I actually like her design before she powers up a little bit more because it's such a distinct look for her. Yeah. And it's different enough from the normal one that I'm like, she's still an interesting character to look at. But the moment on the show when when everybody gets to power up for the first time.
Yeah.
My daughter lost her mind when she had the wings sprout out and the Zor background and everything. And like when we saw the wings were like a dimensional portal, kind of like Raven on Teen Titans and stuff. Oh my God. My daughter just lost her mind and she's like, Teela's her absolute everything favorite now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not going to fight you because she's really cool on the show. And I mean, I the one thing that I learned that I thought was really cool too, and I didn't catch it initially because I'm one of these people that when I'm watching something, I'm usually just into it, and then later on I figure it out. Evelyn is a word witch.
Yes.
And she is a hand witch. Teela is a hand witch, which I love because they do show in the beginning. She does like the Doctor Strange stuff.
She does that the whole way.
Stuff happens. And then with Evelyn, they even do those overlays of her mouth while she's doing a spell to show this is it taking effect or whatever. So I really think it's fun that they have the two of them squaring off, but different ways of doing their powers when you see them interacting on it. So
it took me till the last that two-parter at the end that really hammered. I know they kept calling. I think they actually called her a hand mage, but they they like call it, but I didn't pay any attention to it until the end there. Once Evelyn gets powered up and Teela covers her mouth, I'm like, oh yeah, like every time, whenever Teela does something, she's doing this. And like you said, Evelyn is always has to have her incantations, and it clicked for me too. I'm like, that is a really cool like pairing, like dueling.
Yeah.
And it explains, and actually, if you watch, then once Teela powers up to her sorceress persona, she just does stuff, which you basically figure that's like the highest magic user, and like there's the hand mages, there's the word mages, and then there's I would say just mages, like who can just do stuff, and that's. Because Evelyn, from the moment she sees Teela powered up that first time, she is insanely jealous of her. And I like that. It's a great callback to the origins of the line where it was supposed to be like heroic warrior goddess, evil warrior goddess, and like Evelyn was supposed to be like same thing, her kind of not doppelganger, but like they were the jealous, goddesses or whatever. They fought against each other. And that's Evelyn's big thing. Once she gets powered up, she can then just do stuff. She doesn't need the words anymore. And that takes Teela by surprise. But and that shows why Evelyn has that resentment towards Teela, because she was her apprentice. She was just her pawn, and then she got powered up first and surpassed her. So now Evelyn's like got this chip on her shoulder that she's got to show her who's boss. And I mean, it's great storyline. It's great character building. All
right. And then what? We're doing the heroes.
Let's do least favorite hero. Like what?
Favorite hero.
Not necessarily even that you dislike them, but like the one that you think could have been done better, maybe. Or if you do just have one dislike.
See, I honestly don't dislike anybody on the entire show, which is kind of a surprise. But I think the one that I feel he was a little more marginalized might have been Duncan.
Yeah.
I like his design. It really is Samus. It really does make me think Metroid.
I wish they could have tweaked that. Maybe done like more the one side armor, like the toy. Like maybe that would do it. Or even my big thing is that he needs a little green in his design. That's really what. Even maybe replace the blues with greens might work. I don't know, but I felt the same way. Duncan was kind of the least impressive.
Yeah, and it's like he's not a bad character because he reminds me of Donatello. They really did make him the Donatello of the group. He's the tech guy, and he's the inventor and all that stuff. And I do like that the good guys, for the most part, they have this. They're not as good as the bad guys because the bad guys are the mentors,
right?
And it's like they're going up against their teachers. And he, I think, suffered that more than Teela,
Yeah.
Because even like on the one episode where he had to get the password to break into Orko's AI, he's like, Cronus is the best at everything, and it's always about Cronus, and there's that feeling there. But I just felt like design-wise, he was a little too something else for even the show at times. And even the character, they didn't really give him like his episode compared to the others kind of had something. Yeah. And his was like that one with Orko, but it was more of an Orko episode than it was a Duncan episode.
Yeah. But I did like that. I will say, I agree with all your points. I think he had the least time to shine. But I do like the character they're making him into. He's a bit more that young and he's not the guy who's like, oh, I created a freeze ray. Here you go. And it works properly. Yeah, he's the guy who's like, I'm going to create this freeze ray. And it'll probably work.
Mm-hmm.
You might blow up. What'd you say? Oh, nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's fine. No, but you just said it might blow up. Did I? I don't remember saying that.
Exactly.
But I really liked that. I liked that they brought him down. Like, it created a whole new Man-at-Arms for me, and that was fun. And it's funny because even back when we did our Lords of Power discussion and like how we would take the line if we had it from the beginning. That was one of the things I threw out there was I had them adults still, but bring Man-at-Arms down to He-Man's age. Like, have them be peers instead of the mentor-mentee angle. And I thought it worked really well. He's definitely the Donatello. It's fun. And I'm sure down the road he'll get his time to shine. But like you said earlier, his stuff is more like comments here and there, where in the other Heroic Warriors, Masters, they're still calling them Masters here, they really kind of had their episode or their, scene or something. And Duncan's is more of these little comments. And you even get the feeling that Cronus might not even be as good as he says he is, and he was, using Duncan. Like Duncan says, like, I programmed the failsafe for Cronus in the arcade units, the robots that are used everywhere. So there's even that little bit of that. It's like, well, how obviously Cronus has some capabilities, but how much does he actually have, and how much does he just steal from other people? Like that kind of shady guy.
Exactly, and I mean he did have a really cool line though when they were going up against the evil masters and all that. I did like he says to Cronus, you were the Man-at-Arms for Castle Eternos or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm the Man-at-Arms for Castle Grayskull. I was like, yeah, that was cool, So, but he's just the more unfleshed out, and I figure they're probably going to do more of them coming up. But
I do hope. I hope they upgrade his armor. I honestly do. I think his character design, his armor design is pretty blah at this point.
So. Yeah.
And then we got the evil side
for the evil
masters.
Yeah. And honestly, this is the first time I could say that the bad guys were probably one of my absolute favorite parts of the show.
Oh, absolutely.
And I got to go with Trapjaw. He was between Cronus and Trapjaw. I mean, Cronus is so Stephen Wright. That very, hi, I'm here to do this. Okay. And I love how deadpan he is. And then on top of that, then when he gets his power up, I love that when they have their first fight with the Masters, he gets his jaw broken. And that's the whole, he has the metal armor around it to support his jaw, so it's it's able to heal, and that's what Skeletor uses to turn him into Trapjaw. And the design, the whole the circular teeth and all that, I love it. I absolutely he is hands down my favorite design of that entire series right now.
Yeah, he looks great. The little bits, like you see the little bits of like flesh, the blood and stuff in his arm. He's got the little piece of metal everywhere. Like when he upgrades, he is amazing. instantly recognizable. And yeah, his character has been great. And he's ruthless too. He's just like you say, just like, oh, I got to burn down the village. All right, I burned down the village. Like,
yep,
you killed a ton of people. Yeah, I did. That's what we had to do. It's not even like that malicious evil where like he like gets joy of it. He's more just that like, all right, I got to do this, this, and this, and it's just like checking boxes. Like he's that analytical mind, but for evil. Like he's like, well, I need to get the sword back from Tila. She's in this village. Let's just kill everybody in the village. It's the easiest way. Like that's it's crazy, but it's so well written, and he is a completely different kind of villain. And I will say that real quick, all the villains feel quite different. It's not just the buffoon of the week or anything, or like they're all
thank God
they're all bumbling oafs, or you know what I mean? Like they're not. It's not henchmen 1, 2, and 3. They all have the same personalities. They're written consistently, and yeah, they're just fun.
Yeah.
For me, I honestly, it might be a little too on the nose, even though he doesn't have one. But I gotta go with Skeletor because not only is he's instantly recognizable. All the villains in their powered up forms, I feel, are instantly recognizable. Evil Lynn's the biggest departure, but even her, I think you put her picture in front of anybody and they'll go, well, that has to be Evil Lynn. You know? But Skeletor, number one, I have seen a lot of fan art, a lot of customs over the years of Skeletor, and I've seen people go with more of a boned look, like either completely or partially, or, you know, really playing up the skeleton thing. And I usually don't care for it. That's nothing against the artists or the customizers or anything. It just, I've always preferred my Skeletor. Like, that's what sets him apart to me. He's not just a skeleton. He's the skull head and the muscular body, right? But just a little act of them and it's not too much to me, but when he gets transformed, the fact that his one arm and hand are bone, are skeleton, and then of course his skull, it works so well. It's not overdone, but just that little punch up that's like, that's creepy as shit. Like seeing that's the hand he uses the Havoc Staff with. It's the one he was holding on to the mace that would eventually become the Havoc Staff that gets like skinned. And it is so creepy, and it works so well. Whereas if they'd gone even both hands or like all his appendages, I would just been like, come on, like that's not Skeletor. But that in the armor, it's all punched up, but it's instantly Skeletor. Like you look at it, it's like that's Skeletor. He's beefy, he's bulky, he's muscular. He's got the harness tweaked up, the glowing, that green energy, which we find out is Havoc. You know, they've set it up as two fonts, basically. The power of Grayskull is all the heroic warriors draw their power from that. And then the power of Havoc is where all the Dark Masters get their power. And I really like that. It's that counterbalance is done really well here. And the fact that he is just, like, imbued with it. Like, everyone else gets powered up, but he is like, it's literally flowing through his veins. That green that you see glowing, that's literally his magic power that's keeping him alive and everything. And I just, so design-wise is amazing. And character-wise, this may be the best portrayal of Skeletor I have ever seen. He is cunning. He is ruthless. He is witty. He is manipulative. It's like they took Filmation, Mike Young, New Adventures, Eternity War. It's like they took all of those and just kind of took the best parts of each and were like, here's Skeletor. Like, his dialogue is amazing. When he makes his jokes, I laugh every time. But at the same time, I'm scared as heck with some of the stuff he comes up with and some of the stuff he does. Like, we said it when we covered New Adventures. Like, Campbell Lane is like that used car salesman Skeletor. And they rode that into this, Sean. Like, they even got that aspect of it. Like, it's really easy to take Skeletor and either go, super dark and menacing, or, like, Filmation campy. But, like, this guy's got it all. And I really think that that's the right thing to do for the kids, because he's got those moments where, if they just went dark, he would have been too scary for the kids. If they just done the goofy Skeletor, we wouldn't be able to take him seriously. But somehow these writers found the right mixture, and they churned out a near-perfect Skeletor, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anytime he was on the screen, my son was scared to death. And that said something to me, because when I was a kid, I don't remember a single moment where Skeletor was scary to me on Filmation. It was Skeletor,
Right.
And in this, it's like they have some of those close-ups where he's just getting maniacal, and you can just, I mean, even me as a 40-something watching, I'm like, man, if I was 6, I'd be scared to death of this version of him. Yep. Maybe even more than the 87 movie when I was a kid watching that.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. That Frank Langella Skeletor's in there. He does the big speeches, the monologues. Mm-hmm. He thinks he's the best ever,
Yeah, yeah.
And I gotta say, one of the best moments of the series is when he reveals himself to Randor. Yeah. And Randor's just like, oh, Keldor, it's you. And he's like, really? It's me? Like... You haven't seen me for 10 years. I have a skull for a face now. Isn't that doing anything for you? And Randor goes, what? I'm supposed to be scared just because you got a haircut? Like it's that kind of stuff. I'm like, I love it. Like, he's ready for this big dramatic, like, ooh, and like he gets nothing at Randor. Just like, oh,
yep.
Like I did that interaction. I was howling. I was like, yes, and this is as Skeletor's launching his grand plan, and like nothing's going how he wants,
Yeah.
And that same episode, he's like, He-Man shows up riding on Battle Cat, and he like looks at his evil warriors. He's like, "Can somebody get me a Battle Cat for Christmas or for my birthday or something?" He's like, I'm like, that's Skeletor right there. But at the same time, he's so maniacal. Oh my god, I really can't praise it enough. It is such a well done update.
So for the villain that the least villain, or however we're gonna do it, ironically, I'm gonna have to choose Skeletor, and it's not because I don't like him. It's not because of anything. It's more I'm interested in the departures from what we knew to make them different this time around. And this time it was just, you got Skeletor. And that's fine. It works. And like I said, scared the hell out of my kids.
Right.
But I'm like, the design of him, I like it. But the other ones are more interesting looking to me than him. Because he really does go by, other than the arm being the skeleton arm.
Yeah.
That's Skeletor, like, but when you, like the other ones, yes, you can see who they are. But there's things that make those this version of them, and it makes you, for me at least, it makes me latch onto them and go, Trapjaw looks amazing. Freaking Beast Man was like turning from a man into a werewolf.
Yeah.
And you see his transformation, and then you see the old version of him crumble into dust, and now that's what you're left with, is this bestial man, Beast Man. And even with Evelyn, I honestly, she's kind of tied for, maybe I'd even say maybe she should be the one that I should do that with instead of Skeletor, because
if you don't, I'm going. You don't, I'm going to. So that's
I'll do Skeletor because he's the voice actor is probably my favorite version of Skeletor today. Yeah. The story and all that stuff. It's just like out of all of them, he felt the most. It's Skeletor. We're just boop. We drop him in. He doesn't have an arm this time. There we go. Play. Versus the other ones, there was always something updated to make me just go like, ooh, I got to look at this design and I got to see what they did to change this up.
Again, least favorite does not mean disliked.
It doesn't mean they suck.
Right. There's really nobody that does in this series so far. It's but yeah, mine would have to be Evelyn. Kind of the same thing. Like, there's nothing really wrong with her. Just out of the quartet that we're introduced to here, she's just kind of the like, yep, that's Evelyn. There's a little more history between her and Teela now, which is cool. But the design, and then they lean heavily on the Horikoth aspect, which is the bat god of the evil horde in the Eternity War comics, which is cool. I'm curious to see if they explore the horde through that, or if it's just a little Easter egg. But she's got great powers and everything. But for me, she is the least updated. She is Evelyn. She's a magic user who becomes more powerful. She got the staff, everything else. Costume upgrade, but it's Evelyn. So
you get the vibe with her. At least I did. I got the vibe like her and Cronus were a thing for 10 years since Skeletor since Skeletor and all that. And I kind of like that aspect of it too, where it wasn't just, she's trying to find Skeletor all along or whatever. It's like they're using him as part of the plan. But there was definitely a line where she says about, didn't she call Cronus her beloved or something at one point?
I don't remember that. But they've definitely been, you find out that there was a coup against Randor led by, it was led by Keldor, but Randor never figured that out at the time. But yeah, Cronus and Evelyn both betrayed the royal palace on Keldor's orders. But they, from the beginning, have always said that they were plotting. They were using Keldor. They felt they were using Keldor. Keldor felt they were using them. Like, there's no loyalty at all. It's all means to an ends for our villains. And so that's a nice angle. And yeah, basically they've been on the run ever since then. They picked up Duncan and Tila as their proteges, but even then they're using them just to commit crimes so that they don't get caught,
Yep.
So there's a lot of history here, and that's cool. And then even as we find out, once they have the dark power, the first thing they do is try to betray Skeletor. They're like, all right, we got the power we wanted, we got the havoc, and now we're going to turn on you. That was a really interesting plot twist to me. Like, I knew they would eventually, but to pull it that soon, and then Skeletor just like, yeah, no, like, I knew you were going to do this. And the reveal that he actually used his power to enslave them. And since they are now using the power of havoc, he controls them. They cannot turn on. He can shut them down, and they're basically his slaves now. That's a real cool twist.
Yes. I equated that. I talked about it a little on Council of the First Ones the other day, where it's like he's basically the guy that embraces the fact that he gets to go to hell, and he's dragging them all down with him, whether they like it or not. And that was like it isn't done in a way where it looks horrific, but when you think of that in the confines of what the story is, that's actually terrifying.
Right?
It's like if you're waving this guy's flag and you're thinking, I'm going to win because this guy's got this, and it's like, oh crap, that means he's going to take me down with him. Ugh. Like, I enjoyed that so much. And again, it's the whole thing of, this version of Skeletor, like you said, I think he's probably the best version we have to this point, because he really will do some like insane stuff just to further his own plan and further his own story or whatever. And I really,
his power.
Yeah,
it's all
power,
about the power.
Exactly. And one of the best things that they did was introduce, like you said, the power of Grayskull and the power of Havoc.
Yeah,
that was something that the minute they went there and they have that flashback, which I was actually remembering Thundercats when this happened, because you have I love it, the AI sorceress Eldris of the Grayskull. She was there showing, here's the moment when Adam got kidnapped, brought to Grayskull, and Keldor is doing, give me the power now and all this stuff. And she does the Last Crusade, choose wisely and all that kind of stuff.
No, and that's great. And just getting into the main through line of the season there, that's basically it. It's all, I mean, we pick up afterwards, but they find out that basically it all started with Keldor wanting the power of Grayskull, and he kidnaps Adam in order to, and forgive me, it's been, I had to watch this a bit spaced apart, so it's been a while, but I don't think they really explain why he took Adam, unless I'm forgetting something.
I think they did, and I'm forgetting myself right now.
Yeah, but basically he needed, for whatever reason, he needed Adam to find Grayskull, because they went back to the Grayskull can appear wherever it's needed type of thing. Like it's not a solitary structure. It disappears, it comes back. It's very mystical in this series. But once you find Grayskull, then you have the potential to become master of it. And basically they hit so much in this season. So you've got back in we'll say Preternia, even though I will say they never actually call it Preternia, but you had King Grayskull. They mention him. Orko the Great was alive back then, the actual Trollan Orko, and they used the power of Grayskull to fight off the Snake Men. Did they mention King Hiss? See, this is the problem. My mind kind of fills in this stuff.
I want to say they did.
They? Yeah, so they mentioned Hiss. They mentioned the Snake Men. They were, Cringer says it. He's like, they were apex predators that tried to wipe out every other life form on Eternia. And it's like, yeah. Like so that's all there. And basically King Grayskull used the power of Grayskull to defeat the Snake Men and defend the people of Eternia. But since then, the elders forbade anybody from using the power of Grayskull after that point. It's too powerful. It's it's not worth it. Basically, it's that WMD, and we're not touching it. It's forbidden. And so we get to the present day, and Keldor wants that power. So he stages this coup. He uses Evelyn and Cronus to distract the royal palace so that he can kidnap Adam, because he's found the way to Grayskull. And he gets there. And the current sorceress of Grayskull, like Shawn said, is named Eldris. And I do feel at that point she was still alive. I feel like she's just the kind of ghost AI, whatever you want to look at it, in our present timeline. But again, I think that's all speculation on my part. But yeah, and he's presented with the choice. There are two weapons. Only one harnesses the power of Grayskull. And of course, you've got the Sword of Power, and then you've got this mace. And Keldor, he's like, well, swords are for warriors, and knights who serve somebody, and I serve nobody, so I'm taking the mace. That is the leader's weapon, the ruler.
The scepter,
The scepter, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
The scepter. And basically that's what starts his process to Skeletor, because that is full of havoc. And that's the first part, actually, is that his hand gets burnt off, and it's just the skeleton. And he's banished, and Grayskull disappears. Adam loses his memory, and by the time Raindor and company figure out what's really going on, Grayskull's gone, Keldor and Adam are gone, and all that's left is a Sword of Power. And so Randor takes it back to the palace and stashes it away. And that, honestly, all that, guys, is just a flashback. And it's even pieced together through a couple episodes.
Yeah.
All that history right there. Keldor thinks he lost his brother and his son. He thinks that they were both victims of the coup, And I really like what they did with Adam here. Like, having him have the royal lineage in that whole backstory, but also then once he's found, he doesn't remember all of his past, it's muddy, whatever, and Cringer finds him and takes him into the Green Tiger tribe in the jungle. And Shawn, it was at this point when I'm watching it, it's the vintage mini comics.
It is. And that made me really, really happy.
Once I realized that, I'm like, holy shit, this is just the vintage mini comics brought to the present day. with some of the some stuff a little tweak. It fits better. But basically, this is the story of Adam finding the sword, leaving the jungle, and going to protect the Greater Eternia while assembling this group of warriors along the way.
Yep, exactly. No, the minute they went there with the tribe, I was beaming. So I'm like, I'm finally getting this. It's not exactly the Alcala version that I've always wanted to see, but I'm just happy they went there finally because I grew up with both. Actually, what the DC, this and the Alcala, the Filmation Alcala, and this one was like, let's just go for it. Let's tell a story that's completely not what you would have expected, but there is going to be a through line that's going to have these things that do bridge to what you know as well. You know, exactly. So I love that, and it really like I was listening to another podcast, and there were some people going, "What does Adam bring to the table?" Well, you know, like typically, Adam becomes He-Man to the table. And in this sequence with Adam, you could see, no, what he brings to the table is this kid actually's got some bravery. He's got some courage. He's got some smarts. And he's not just this hopeless person on the... He's saving Cringer when he saves Cringer's nephew or whatever first.
I thought it was going to be Cringer
the cub,
too.
Exactly. But I like how, you know, he's brave. He's giving of himself to protect another life here and all this stuff. And then I like that between him and Kraz, it's like, where's Cringer? Oh, I bet he got taken again. Well, he doesn't have, or he's hunting. He doesn't have claws, and he's off to go and protect his friend, you know. And it was enough for me to go, that's what he brings to the table here. You know, like Adam is not the typical Adam. He's very much someone who isn't shirking away from a situation where someone's in trouble. He does go into it, but it does help him to be He-Man later when he can do these things, because then he can do them and people usually are even safer afterwards, you know?
But then we jumping ahead a little bit, we've got that interesting, now don't get me wrong. I love secret identity shenanigans. You know that about me. I love where's Adam? Oh, damn it. I don't know. I'm sure he's safe. Like, I love that kind of stuff. I do miss that here. I'm not going to lie. I always miss a secret identity. But this stuff is done so well, and it explores a whole new aspect where he is from the jungle. Even though he's still got the royal family ties, a lot of his life he was raised... 10 years. That's huge. He was raised in the jungle, not knowing who he was. Now he's got to deal with I'm the son of a king. I am a prince. And when he finally meets his father's, one, overjoyed that he's home, but two, goes, hey, you're using the power of Grayskull. We can't touch that. It's against the law. And he's like, you need to put down the sword and come back to the palace with me. And Adam going, I know that's not right. Keldor's out there, you know. I need this power. And that leading to the father-son conflict that way, I thought was a really nice... And Randor's a jerk. He... For just finding his son after a decade, he is a jerk. Like, he is just like... no, you have to do this my way. After he just saved him from the storm and everything, like, I thought that was really well done. Adam, excuse me, Adam having to make that hard choice of, I finally found my family. Do I go with my father and give all this up? Or do I give up my family and go protect Eternia because I know something bad's coming? And that sacrifice he makes. It was gut-wrenching. It's like, it was everything he was looking for, and when he got it, he realizes he can't do this. I can't. And he's got to walk away. Same with him and Kraz. They have the conversations, like, we have all this power now. We can keep the jungle safe. We can keep our tribe safe. And Adam's like, no, this same thing. It's above the tribe now. We need to protect this whole planet. And Crass as Ram Man is like, dude, no, we need to just hunker down, make sure ours is taken care of, and and that leads to their splitting up. Crass staying in the jungle, protecting it, and Adam going back to Grayskull. I mean, I know I'm rambling, but even Grayskull being the abandoned fortress that the Masters moved back into, and they're fixing it up and everything, and they're making it their home. Like, that's right back to that vintage era.
Yeah. No, there's for somebody like me who's wanted to see a lot of the vintage stuff happening that is the pre-filmation. Yeah. That's probably why I embraced this as quickly as I did, because like I've always wanted to see that version of Adam leaves the tribe. Yep. And here he is. Now he's going to go and be He-Man. He's going to be this barbaric warrior to protect Eternia and stuff. And I like in this case, I felt like that version was always going to have less meat on the bone to talk about, versus this one has a lot of good stuff on the bone, and I love it. And they really define his character. They really define Adam, and he, in my opinion, is probably the best Adam that I've seen for all around as a character, because like I always was like, I know you're big on the alter ego and the switching of the identities, but I love that in this version it doesn't mean he's two different people. And they don't even manipulate the voice and make the voice actor do a different voice, like Cam Clark and I'm He-Man, and then it's like, Adam is kind of like this. I like that there's Adam in that voice when he talks.
It's definitely less. There's a little bit the way he talks, but it's not the night and day.
Exactly, and I mean the thing too is, at the end of the day, this version of him, and that's the funny thing, because I think of Adam in the character way more than I think of him in the design way and all this other stuff, because he's very Adam. I like that there's the tiger stripes, though. I like that it shows he's earned his place in the tribe, because he's got the stripes on his vest and all that. But there's a lot about him where he is an interesting character to watch for me this time around, compared to 2000X was getting there with some of that stuff going into the second season, because they were showing Adam is wrestling with these things, in different episodes. But in this one, it's from the get-go. He's just, here's this kid, he gets this ability. And I don't know. I enjoy that. And I like that he looks at it from a tribal perspective, I think, even on the show, because the moment when, and this is one of my favorite episodes, actually. We have the confrontation at Grayskull. We have He-Man and everybody else unpowered, and versus Keldor and everybody unpowered. And all the heroes are like, crap, we're going to get our asses handed to us because they are still better than us. Right. And that's the moment when, Keldor's trying to break down the gate and he's trying to get through the force field. And he says to Lynn, this power isn't to be shared. And I like that Adam he's He-Man there, but it's very Adam, where he turns to everybody and goes, I think this power is meant to be shared. And then that's when you get your Avengers Assembled big stuff with the power-ups. It's like that Adam just works for me on that level. I love that we're doing away with the days of, the one person getting to have that power up and everybody. It's like the best way I explained it was, think about playing as you were the He-Man characters when you were a kid. Yeah. And everybody had this, okay, whoever plays Adam will just be He-Man and everybody else is on the same level throughout the rest of it. We're all going to be good warriors, but how cool is it that now if you're playing with your friends as like a 6-year-old, you can have somebody go, I want to be He-Man. And then somebody else would go, well, I want to be Man-at-Arms. Right. I want to be Cringer. I want to be Ram Man. And I'm watching the show going, this is so cool for that. Like for kids, because every time it was like, that one kid who got to be the star, and everybody else was on the same level. Now everybody gets to share in that this time around.
Yeah, and that's a part I was unsure about, the group transformation, the group power up. Like everybody, I was iffy about it, but I thought it was really well done here. They built it up, they earned it, and it works in this universe. Again, we're starting from scratch, so it works. And excuse me, I like the fact that they can, once they've done it, then they can power up individually as well. Because that was one of my big things. And they're consistent with how it works and everything. And it's still through the Sword of Power that they transform, as we find out later in the season, when Skeletor breaks the sword, which, oh my god, they went there already?
Yeah, they went there already.
I mean, they showed just how, once Skeletor has the full power of Havoc, he is He-Man's equal, which we don't see a lot of. And that's, going back to earlier, that's where having the power of Havoc and the power of Grayskull really puts them this is not, this He-Man needs a team. Because every one of these evil warriors are now on his level. So it's not going to be the weapon of mass destruction He-Man where it's like, oh good, He-Man's here, we're good now. Oh no, you better get out of here. No, it's like, dude, I broke your sword first meeting. Bring it. And I like that. It gives you those stakes. But yeah, once that happens, everybody's down. And they have to fight your way back. The corruption of the Havoc, we think that the heroic warriors are gonna succumb to it. I mean, there's so many great moments in this series, and it's only been 10 episodes. I mean, it's amazing everything they've hit so far and the potential it has to go forward. I will say, I do kind of hope that as they introduce new warriors, that not everybody has to transform. I kind of like, which they probably will, but I would kind of like it if there were some characters that just were powerful, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. You know what I mean? It's nice having that core group, but does everybody have to do it? That's kind of where I'm at.
I'm a little there's a part of me that goes, well, my headcanon has always been He-Man and Adam should be a unifier versus Skeletor breaking everything apart, the Havoc aspect of that and all that. So the idea that, within each, they bring up the Avions on it.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, the potential of us seeing Stratos is there maybe next season, and the potential of Merman next season, because they also brought up, they bring them up as well. So it's like almost having an ambassador of those races and having that person be the one wielding, that would almost be their way of saying you're a part of the Masters and you have this warrior. But the other part of me, Manny Faces, I don't really need him to be powered up. He already has 3 options, So if they bring him in, I don't know. I feel like they don't need to go there as much.
He's actually, I know I just said I don't need everybody powered up, but Manny Faces, I think that would solve a lot of the problems with his origin for me. If he didn't have the 3 faces until he powers up, and then maybe even, dude, they could do the old mini comic thing where he actually gets the power of Grayskull and the power of Havoc, that's his different. And then when they both hit him, Skeletor and He-Man both hit him, that gives him the robot. It's literally going back, but it works. Oh my god! Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's it really shows the premise of this show works. Yes. Because for me, it's Stratos, would he need to be powered up? Maybe not. He's already an Avion, and all that stuff. But, Manny Faces, I'm going to have to eat my words already. Yeah, I think that does work for his origin really well, where, you have the 2 of them fighting over him, trying to save him or corrupt him.
Right.
And then that's how you get that merging of the 3 personalities. But, and it's somebody like Fisto, I'm guessing either he's going to have a glove already, or he's going to have in 2000X, it'll be he's injured, and they use the power of Grayskull to protect him, or rebuild him, or whatever.
I could see Fisto being an amputee.
Yeah.
I could see him actually either missing part of his arm, his hand, something, and like this gives him that. So yeah, they probably will go powered up. It just for I don't know. I could also see that kind of getting. Like, I mean, even at some points in the series, I will say, like, some of the transformations, I think they did a good job of, like, especially when there's a group transformation, just kind of doing, like, a kaboom,
Yeah.
But, like, if you get to the point down the road where you've got, 15 heroic warriors, at that point, the transformations might be a little bit like, hopefully they will go more to the fast stuff, like, okay, we're just, boom, we're here,
Mm-hmm.
It's very video game-esque. It's very action based. I mean, they've got their special moves and everything, and Final Fantasy summons style stuff, lightning strike and all that, which is fun. I mean, I'm sure the honestly, I enjoyed it. Like, it reminded me enough of Final Fantasy that I'm like, okay, like, I can get behind this. And I'm sure the kids are eating it up. Like you said before, I liked how I think it was called Emerite, what Skeletor uses. He says he's using it to share the power of Havoc with the evil warriors. But then later he reveals, actually, that's what allowed me to enslave you. Like, I could have given you the power anytime, but then you would have control over it. And I wanted control over you. Like, the fact that he's always thinking 5 steps ahead is awesome.
Yeah.
But I like that when I stop to think about it, then that's actually what Duncan uses that same ore to repair the Master's weapons and get them to transform again after Skeletor broke the Sword of Power. And then that allows them to do their kind of combo summons, their dual moves. And, Duncan and Teela have a move they do together, and Battle Cat and He-Man have a move together. And I like that, like how Havoc uses this, and it ties you to Skeletor. But then they use it, and it's like, no, it just combines our powers. And it's that whole duality, that dark and light side, where the power of Grayskull is given freely, and it combines and it unites, and Havoc is like, no, you're all mine now. Like that, and it enslaves. And I love those themes. It's awesome, and it fits right into the world of Masters. It fits into so much stuff that has come before. It simplifies it. Like you said, it takes those early mini-comic things that we've always been able to kind of poke holes in, and it's like, well, this wouldn't work. I've never been a fan of the halves of the Power Sword, but it kind of merges it all together. And honestly, right there, I think this is one of the best merged canons that we have seen in the modern era.
Yeah, well, we haven't had the chance to see a lot of that kind of stuff, so this is really the first time they've gone this way,
right?
And I'm eating this up. I mean, the animation is strong.
Yes.
I mean, I know there's people who aren't the biggest fan of like the over exaggerating the proportions and stuff, but for me, I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like that stuff to me, it's like I've seen The Incredibles. They over exaggerate in there with the proportions. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. It's more, like there's definitely these moments with it, like they do these subtle little expressions and stuff, and it's not just like the bare bones animation CGI stuff that you would expect. They really put some effort into this one. Yeah. I think, like you were saying a little while ago, like their special moves. I won't lie. I'm kind of hoping in the next episodes that He-Man gets more than one move, because he resorts to that move every time in the first 10 episodes. And the first time I was like, oh, cool, he's got a special move. Then after about the 5th time, I'm like, doesn't he get another special move? This is it. This lightning strike, boom, and that's it. But and then like at the end, you get the combos at least between two characters or even more of them working together. So it's a little different. I love that when they do that power up together, He-Man's sword turns into like a freaking bed.
Yeah, it's like it's the shield or whatever. Yeah, it's just wider and wider, and it shoots Cringe or Battle Cat's blades out, and no, it's really impressive visually. See, and right there, granted, Mattel's main goal is to sell toys, but this would lend itself, like you said, you want more special moves. All right.
Yeah.
So I can see them doing upgrades as they go along. Okay, now He-Man's got his battle armor, and now he's got the new special move,
the Thunder Punch or something.
Lightning Storm, Thunder Punch. Like, so, just something like that's, I could see that happening. Like, everybody kind of upgrades as they go along. Because that's what it's going to be, right? Like, now we have the Masters and the Dark Masters. Because for a lot of the first season, the Masters are up because they have the power and only Skeletor has it. But then once he finally gets his Dark Masters going, now it's like, okay, now it's the arms race. Either they're going to keep going up in power, armor, whatever, or obviously they're going to keep amassing warriors. It's the old, hey, Skeletor, now I've got Mechanic and Buzz-Off. All right,
exactly.
Man, now I've got Whiplash and Clawful. It's like, it's okay. We're going to keep raising the stakes and everything. So, while we're on the subject of special moves, so we got 5 heroic warriors right now. We got He-Man, Battle Cat, Duncan and Teela, and then we got Crass as Ram Man.
Yeah.
Who will be introduced to be her dual move partner?
Well, like I said, they mentioned Stratos, but I'm a little lost at what Stratos would be to power her up or whatever. Right. So,
that's the thing, right? Because I get the He-Man Battle Cat pairing. Duncan Teela makes sense because of their, not in this iteration,
history.
But even in this iteration, their history, one was Cronus's apprentice, one was Evelyn's apprentice, they have that, so it's kind of like, I was thinking about that as they were doing the dual moves. I'm like, Crass is left out. Who would make a good foil, Like, I could even say, down the road, I could see Buzz-Off and Mechanic being, like, the pair.
Yeah.
Because Vintage, they were paired up a lot. So
yeah, and I feel like Ram Man and Stratos had screen time together on Filmations and stuff. So I feel like that might not be a bad one, but I'm looking at it from a power up, like what it's like with Teela and Man at Arms, it was science and magic working together. With Battle Cat and He-Man, it was like the power and the ferocity working together.
Well, so I'm like, they're the traditional duo.
Exactly. So I'm like, I don't know what. The only thing I could figure is, Stratos flying her up and doing something like almost like 10 pins. He flies her up and he drops her down, and she just does like a earthquake move or something, and can wreck like a whole battalion or something. But
that's exactly where my mind went, and it's the pairing of, like you said. I think Stratos is going to be the one the next to be introduced. He's original 8-back. Ram Man came out pretty much second wave. So it just kind of makes sense, and that's exactly the move I thought of, like some sort of using the terminal velocity and the ramming,
Yeah.
So
the other option is she gets him into the ball with her while she's spinning, and then she shoots him out, and he can cut down warriors or something. And
that could,
like he's like amped up on speed, kind of going into something with velocity.
He's got those steel tips like the 2000X had. Yeah,
sure. Nice. If they went there, and I literally, I'm sitting there after watching the first 10 episodes, going, I can't wait to see how they bring in and then fill in the blank. I mean, like we already talked Fisto, maybe Manny Faces, and I'm actually the one that is right there and ready for the plucking is Too Bad.
Yes.
He's right there, both of them. They're both
many
palace,
times.
Yeah.
And
they were going to play a game of Modulok, which I thought was great too.
Oh, I missed that.
They mentioned it's in the first episode. They're like, "Oh, do you want to play Modulok? Oh, there's too many pieces involved with that, or something." And I'm like, "Oh, that's great."
But yeah, I thought when I first saw them in that first episode, and they're like, they're named Palace Guards, Tuvar and Badger. I'm like, oh, that was a nice throwaway, like whatever. I'm like, oh, maybe. I'm like, I hope maybe they'll bring him back down the road and everything. And then, like, they showed up in the next episode named. They showed up in the next episode named. They showed up in I mean, they were in near every episode. And I'm like, like, no, that was not just a throwaway, like, gag. They are going to turn here. So, whether willingly or unwillingly, I don't know, because they're pretty loyal to King Randor right now. They're two of his, like, personal guards.
Yeah, and considering where these 10 episodes end, they're ripe for the picking to have something happen to them because they're trying to protect the king.
Yeah.
So, crossing fingers, because I always like Too Bad anyway. I hope he shows up next season. I hope, or I don't know if it's, but the next episodes, I hope
it's
he's
Netflix
there.
Seasons.
The next Netflix season. Yeah. But I mean, they set this one up where another reason that I actually think this is one of the best Skeletors ever is look at where it ended.
Yeah.
I mean, you've never seen, we've seen him on the throne. Go for it.
How did it end?
He actually takes over the throne of Eternos.
He's wins.
Sitting on the throne.
Everything he planned to do. Perfect.
It worked. And that again, like one of the things again in the win column for me is none of these villains are ever played for buffoonery or for comic relief. There are some comedic moments.
Yeah.
Like Cronus has a ton of those deadpan moments and stuff.
Right.
But every one of them is capable of being cruel, vicious, calculating. I mean, within his own group, they're calculating to have a coup against him. And then they find out, oh, crap, we can't do that because he's going to take the power from us. Like you said, 5 to 10 steps ahead.
Everybody.
And I'm sitting here watching it going like, I've never seen this. Like Skeletor is literally on the throne. How do I look? And I'm like, oh my God. And we watched that one just the other day. And then when it ends with that shot of the illustration of him on the throne, every time my son goes, that's so creepy. I'm like, I know. I can't wait now.
The whole thing, that whole last scene, the final scene, it's the 87 movie. It's him. It's the first scene of the 87 movie when he's walking into Grayskull and all his troops are there. He has mind controlled the entire Royal Guard and taken over Eternos. And he just walks in, everybody's bound to him, and he goes up, he does a spin, he sits on the throne. I'm like, I'm telling you, the people who put this show on, I know a number of them are fans. The ones who aren't did their research because there are so many callbacks to everything. I mean, we got Colossor, we've got Tuvar and Vadra, the Modulok reference I even missed. There's so many that I'm forgetting right now on the spot, and so many scenes. Even when Skeletor and He-Man are fighting in Snake Mountain, when they first kind of meet powered up for the first time, when they're fighting and they lock sword and staff and they create that circle behind them, I'm like, it's the 87 movie fight. That's exactly what it's the homage to. Like, there are so many scenes and everything else. Granted, it looks nothing like it, but the Wind Raider is what they named the ship that the Masters use. I mean, there's so much stuff. It's great. But yeah, when it got to the end there, because I was of the mind up to the end of that second episode that the Masters were going to win, that they were going to turn Skeletor away. And then when they're like, we have to retreat, we have to depower, Skeletor, because Skeletor's got this innate tracking for the Power Grayskull too, which puts him at a disadvantage. And that's what brought Keldor back. We completely skipped over that. He was lost until Adam activated the Power Grayskull, and that was like a beacon for him to find Eternia again. And that's kind of what set all this into motion. But yeah, that moment when I realized, they're not winning this. And they got that moment with Randor, where Randor's like, I was wrong. I should have accepted you. I should have accepted the Power Grayskull. This is my fault. That was one of the things I was worried after that Storm episode. I'm like, are they going to redeem Randor, or is he going to just be a jerk in this series? But then once it comes to the end and Randor gets his comeuppance and he's like, no, I messed up, Adam. Like, I should have listened to you. I'm an idiot. I'm like, okay, so we're good. We are going to get Randor to a good place. Because that was one of my big concerns watching it. That they weren't going to get there.
Yeah, and on top of that, when he sees what his son is able to do, and he's doing it in the protection of his people, just like he would want to protect them, there is a certain amount of, if you can't see this, you're going to be the worst part of the series. And thankfully, like you said, they turned that around completely. I mean, and real quick, I have to do it. One of my absolute favorite redesigns that isn't a character, Snake Mountain, hands down.
Oh yes.
When the first time they showed the exterior shot of that place, I went nuts because I couldn't get over how creepy and how spooky that looked this time around. Like, Filmation started the ball rolling in that direction, and it had its moments. But this one for me was like, I would never want to go in there. I would never ever step foot in that place, and it's one of my absolute favorite.
Yes,
just them updating something that we already know and turning it really, really creepy and good. I loved it.
I completely agree. And they took it back to that place where, like, even He-Man is scared to tread upon what he does. Like, it's a big deal for them to break through and get there. Like, it is not just sitting out in the open. It is a chore. They replaced all the lava with literal pools of havoc, like that evil magical energy. It just imbued into this fortress. And like we mentioned with Grayskull is a great redesign. It's more of a portal to, like, kind of like Tila's wings and everything. Like, it's kind of this extra dimension. It can move around and everything. And getting to the end here, so the heroes realize they're not winning this. They retreat. Orko, another great character that we didn't get into too much, but he's a great redesign. He's got the memories of the real Orko, but he's a robot. It works very well. He pulls off a magic trick because that's something he's struggling with as a robot. He's having a hard time. He gets some away. They depower. And they split up, which I like because the way they split up is Tila and Orko go with King Randor to make sure he's safe. And then Ram Man, Man-at-Arms, and He-Man and Battle-Cat go to Grayskull as Skeletor's trying to destroy that, because Skeletor's not even worried about Grayskull anymore. He likes the power of Havoc. He's like, I can do something with this. Let's just destroy Grayskull. And I like that it's given Tila and Orko that time with King Randor, and I think in the next set we're going to get a bit closer to kind of the default dynamic, if you will, the Filmation dynamic, where it's like, okay, Randor knows he can trust Tila and Orko, and we're gonna get a bit integrated. You know what I mean? We're gonna get. This is a show that I could see ending up where we started, where it's more where we as the adult fans started back in the 80s. I mean, where they're gonna get to the point where they're operating out of the palace. They have the backing of the guard. Randor trusts them, but it's got to be earned. And I like that. It's something I had hoped for another recent revival series that we never got.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing where it's going. And then, of course, the penultimate scene where they realize they can't stop all of the royal guards that are attacking Grayskull, and they tell Eldris they're like, can't you move Grayskull? And she's like, yeah, but I can't control where it winds up because I don't have enough power. And they go, well, castle lost somewhere random or no castle? And they do it. They teleport the castle away. As Eldris says, and so a new adventure begins.
Yeah.
Did you have the same thought I did?
I was a little worried about maybe the next episodes for the fact that I don't really need it to go new adventures, but her just saying that was enough for me to go, well, let's see what you do here. Just out of curiosity, but I don't need them to be on another planet. I don't want to have unless the only thing that I could figure is they're on another planet trying to get back home again.
Right.
And then that leaves Teela holding the bag, and all that with Orko. But
if it's a small arc,
I'll
be okay with it. Like if they wind up on Primus and they need the help of Flipshot and Hydron to get the castle powered up enough to control a blast back to Eternia, cool. But that would be a deep cut real quick.
Here's spitballing really quick, because I know we're going a little long anyway, but if they do something along those lines, they're going to have allies in other places. So there is this part of me going, okay, so the way that Skeletor's going in this series, it's interesting to think, if he's got all the palace guards and all this stuff, and he's amassed an army of his own, and then the good guys are now amassing their own army not by default, but by accident, meeting these people, and they have powers and all this stuff. There is this part of me that's like, like you were saying, you have like eventually maybe it'll be the palace guards and Man-at-Arms is in charge of this and all that stuff. It's like, imagine that being the moment where it's like, I always go to it, but the end game moment where it's like all bets are off and you have everybody has to join together, and they do pull in. Here's Flipshot, here's Hydron, plus all these other people versus the Horde or something later on down the line. And then you have Man-at-Arms front and center leading the charge with all of the palace guards and the soldiers. And it's like, I'm kind of getting chills going, that would be amazing to see, because it's like you said, it's like he said later, earlier in the series, I'm the Man-at-Arms for Castle Grayskull, but it's like, that would be I'm the Man-at-Arms for Castle Grayskull and Eternos, and it's the whole, to arms, fight the bigger battle kind of a moment.
That's where I think we'll get, like I said, we'll end up where we started with Filmation. Like, okay, now Grayskull and Eternos are aligned. Randor is the great benevolent king, And there's so many questions, beyond, but I will agree real quick. I'm fine with them going new adventures for an episode or two, as long as they come back. And I don't want them to bring anybody back with them yet. Like you said, if down the road we goodbye for now, and it comes back later, great. And honestly, I'm torn probably about 50-50 whether they're actually going to go there, or if that line was just kind of a wink and a nod to us adult fans.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. It was well written in the fact that it had lots of those where it's like, none of the kids experiencing this for the first time are going to get this. That line was thrown in there for us. That sight gag was thrown in there for us. And I can't say enough good things about this series. Honestly, I went in with low expectations, and this just blasted well through them. And I know we both have a lot more to discuss about this series. And honestly, I am going to be up for actually doing our episode breakdowns of this series and really digging in deeper to it. But for now, I think we'll just kind of rank the episode as a whole, and then we'll get to some questions right quick. So
let's do it.
As a whole, I am going a 9.5 out of 10. Like I said, it exceeded every expectation I had. It's amazing. I can't wait to rewatch it. My kids utterly loved it. It is so close to perfection. Few minor gripes, nothing even worth bringing up again, but 9.5 out of 10 for the series as a whole.
I gotta go 10 out of 10 because it was the moment of watching something Masters related with my kids, where my kids were just as excited as I was about what was happening. And I mean, even just a couple days ago, my son's like, "Dad, can we put on He-Man when we get home?"
Right.
And the show's been on almost a month now, and he's still excited to watch this. And that is saying something about it. So, and honestly, I don't get sick of it. I've seen it through probably 3 times now, and I still want to keep watching the thing. It's got so much rewatchability.
Right.
So yeah, I love this. It's what I needed at this point in my fandom.
Yep. And so let's go over here. I do have that email from Tony Moore, Simba's Guard, on the forums.
Yep.
All right. I'll read through this right quick. It is a bit lengthy. Bear with me, but he does have a couple questions.
All right.
Towards the end. And I did hear from him after last episode, and he told me there was no need to apologize. But I did, and I do again. But thank you, Tony, for sticking with us, even though we ignored you for a month. Dear Matt and Shawn, well, I binge watched the new He-Man show, and I am very impressed. Just full disclosure, this is the first time for me reading it too. For something that takes the brand in an entirely different direction, it harkens back to the very original concepts of the brand that gives the series a sense of familiarity that a 45-year-old fan such as myself can feel right at home with. We completely agree.
Oh, yeah.
There are some drawbacks, but that is just a longtime fan and me not liking some of the new angles the show is taking. The good far outweighs the bad, so I'll just list what I don't like first. I think you guys have already spoke about some of these. Number 1, everybody being able to call on and be empowered by the power of Grayskull. I can give Battlecat and Teela a pass for obvious reasons, but if any new masters join the team, will they get empowered by Grayskull too?
Yeah.
Even if Grayskull's power just enhances what the warrior already has. If anyone can wield the power of Grayskull, said power becomes less noteworthy. I think we covered a bit of that already, so we'll see what happens. Number 2, the Power Ranger anime vibe to the show. That isn't that big of a deal for me, just an annoyance. I actually love that part. I thought I was going to hate it, but I actually really enjoyed the Big Hero 6, Power Ranger, whatever you want, whatever. The standard group. That's what I thought I was going to hate, but I didn't at all. I loved it.
The one thing I'll say about that real quick, and I'll let you keep reading, is that is the only thing that people can say makes a kitty.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing about the show that I kind of, if this was done in like the Revelation look, but imagine this story, I think fans would be eating it up even more and having less of that, oh, it's kiddified or whatever. But I don't mind it. I enjoy what they did with it because it makes it fun. Yeah. And sometimes that's all I want is to have a fun, entertaining story like this.
But I totally get where people are coming from.
Sure.
I get it. I was surprised I liked it, to be honest with you. Number 3, with Skeletor and his Dark Masters being powered by Chaos, I get a light side, dark side of the Force vibe. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not sure I should mention this as an annoyance, seeing as Masters was created to compete with Star Wars in the first place. Again, real quick, that's something I didn't think I wanted or would like, but it really works for me. I feel the balancing act worked better than I thought it would. What he likes. Number 1, Cringer Battlecat. I guess it could be argued that this iteration of the franchise has no Cringer, as there is no change in personality when Cringer becomes Battlecat. I guess that makes Cringer more of a Battlecat light. I feel like it makes it more, the Power of Grayskull puts him back to his prime. Like he's an older warrior, but the Power of Grayskull is like, no, you still have a shot at this. In any event, I love his fatherly, fearless. I love this fatherly, fearless version of Cringer. I think it's adorable how he calls Adam and Crass his cubs. I also have to commend the writers for making what would have otherwise been those ridiculous and unnecessary cybernetic claws actually fit the story. I love how this iteration of the franchise has made Battlecat from He-Man's Steed, who is also a member of the team, to a member of the team that is also He-Man's Steed. Absolutely. Number 2, the way this iteration of the franchise flips the Adam Cringer dynamic is a very neat twist and a nice nod to the original Vinny comics, where He-Man was a warrior from a jungle tribe. I'm glad everybody is seeing this, because I know it's very easy to get caught up in the anime Power Ranger-ness of it. So I love that everyone's seeing that the themes, the through line is very much Masters. The Tiger Tribe is a concept I've wanted to see explored ever since the Green Tiger Tribe was mentioned in the Classics bios. Number 3, I was thrilled to see a nod to Panther. I forgot to completely mention that. It was the best Battlecat Panther fight we have ever gotten in any Masters cartoon so far. What, you didn't like the dust cloud of Mike Young Productions. However, if Panther actually joins the series, I hope he is an actual animal and not a magical construct. I agree. I do want to note here that toy motorcycle that Skeletor comes with is named Panther, and it obviously is shaped like a purple cat. So I'm really curious to see what they do with Panther down the road. It'd be kind of cool if he was magical and could transform into the motorcycle. That could be like a Transformer type of thing. That could be kind of fun. Number 4, Ram Mam. She is such a different take on this character that I could imagine the Ram Man we know being her father. I could see it going that way, or even just there was a Ram Man back in the past, like Orko. So, I also have a couple of questions. How old do you think Adam is in the series? I had thought 12 at first, but 14 seems more believable. Honestly, I think even a couple years older than that. I'm thinking more the 16 to 18 age range, because we know it's been 10 years since they disappeared. And the Adam that Keldor took to the Grayskull did not look 2 to 4. I think he had to have been at least 6. And I think they're just drawing the teenagers more like teenagers. We're just so used. You actually look at a teenager, they are just overgrown kids. We're kind of so used in media, the teenagers being played by 20-somethings that you really kind of lose track of how a teenager really looks. You think to the sitcoms and stuff where, any high school dramedy is using 20 to 28-year-olds as 16-year-olds. So that's just kind of my best guess. I know it feels like they're younger because of how scrawny they are, but really teenagers are scrawny little kids.
Yeah, my daughter and I actually debated this watching the show, and I want to say just from the look of Adam when he was kidnapped in that the hologram, the flashback, I'd say he was maybe 8 to 9 years old, because I'm also looking at that and going, based on how my kids are, my daughter could speak like him there. My 5-year-old couldn't do it. And so I look at it from I'd imagine he's 18 to 19, maybe even 20.
I don't think 20. I think they've been very, very. They describe them as teenagers in the press and that new book that they just solicited. So they are firmly in the teenager age range. But yeah, they go 16 to 19. I guess is our combined kind of gap. Number 2, Duncan is obviously not Teela's father in this. If the show gets a second season, do you think it will turn out that they are siblings? I absolutely do not. I don't think there's going to be any biological relationship between them, which there never really was, besides some corners of fan speculation. The
way I'd put it is this version of Masters is very much family is the people that you choose, not the people you're related to. Because even in this one, like Adam was more interested in helping people he didn't know versus helping the king, who's his blood. Like at first it was, and eventually it grew into that. But I do feel this series was wearing that on its sleeve, where it's very much family is the people that you choose, and they're a family of people that are able to help in this case. And I think I hope there's no biology to it.
No, I think they're going to have a stronger bond, especially as the ranks grow, based on them being, kind of founding members, and the fact that they both knew each other from service to Cronus and Evelyn. So I think they do have a stronger bond. They got the duo power and everything. So, but I don't think there's going to be much more than that.
The only connection I could think, I mean, obviously there's Adam and Randor, but I'm curious to see if they're going to go there with Eldris and Teela as well, because there's definitely similarities there, but within the group itself, I do look at it as like the Tiger Tribe, where Cringer has adopted them as his cubs within the group and all that. So, and that works well for me.
We didn't even get to speculate on that. No, Eldris is definitely Tila's mom. Absolutely. Yep. I have no doubt in my mind they've got the similar skin color, hair color, and just the way she talks to her. She appeared to her first. She spoke to her first. Tila's the conduit. That is absolutely her mother. And we'll find out why Tila was sent away or had to leave. Maybe it's tied into the Keldor Adam thing. You know, maybe when... obviously, Eldris did not survive whatever happened there. We didn't see everything. And the castle's in ruins, so maybe Tila was blasted. Maybe Tila in this universe did stay with her mother in the castle. But when her mother died, like, she sent her away to protect her. You know, that's going to be interesting. I'm sure they'll get into that. Thanks for your time. Sincerely, Tony Simba's Gardmore. Thank you, Tony, for writing in yet again. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Tony. So I did my post, and here is what we got out of that, other than the happy birthdays. Robert Reed Emery wrote in, and he says, I don't know if you answered this on your last podcast because I didn't have the chance to watch all of it. Was the new CGI show disappointing to you? I personally didn't like it that much. At best, it was okay.
Reed. Dude, we just talked about this. Can you please pay attention to our show? All right, stop. Rewind it. All right, and pay attention this time. I'm just kidding, Reed. I love you, man. But yeah, we just covered all that. Thank you for the great question, though, sir. It's always a pleasure hearing from you.
And honestly, you know, for just his response of at best it was okay. I'm sure there's other people out there who aren't going to enjoy it as much as us, and
good point. Let us know what you didn't like, what disappointed you for it. Maybe our thoughts on it might help a little bit. I don't know, but I'm really curious to hear what you guys liked and disliked as well. I love hearing other opinions. So write in, let us know.
Definitely. Jacob Hicks wrote in, and he said, trying not to get political, but thoughts on the price increases on Origins and Masterverse figures.
Number one, we don't know that there's going to be price increases yet, because we have only, unless I'm missing something, I will say that. I've only seen the new ones, go up for pre-order on Big Bad Toy Store, which historically always has a markup.
Yeah.
Like, Origins have always been higher at Big Bad Toy Store. So I don't know if once they hit retail, if there actually will be. But even if there is, I mean, we all know how everything has been affected, even not even going into political stuff, just costs on everything are up. Production time at factories is at a premium right now. And inflation is just kind of a steady scourge of our existence right now. So what I've seen at Big Bad Toy Store, if that really is going to reflect to retail, it sounds about right, honestly. I don't really see anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I haven't been tracking any of it the way that other people might have, but I know, for instance, when the Horsemen introduced Cosmic Legions a couple weeks back, they were buffering that because there was this, we are going to have a price increase for these. And it only ended up being about $2 or $3 compared to, like it's not 10 extra bucks a figure or something.
So pull up a figure right quick here. Yeah, so like they've got the Revelation figures for $22.99 on Big Bad Toy Store. That would be a $3 increase over what the first wave was. The deluxe figures for Origins, they've got them at $23.99, which would be about $4 increase. Sorceress, they've got her at $18.99, which would be a $4 increase. Like, that's pretty much where we're at. And again, I've only seen those prices on Big Bad Toy Store, so retail might be a couple bucks lower. They usually are.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, the amount of stuff that they're cranking out, and then plus now CGI show,
yes,
and that's $10 a figure or whatever. I mean,
great deal, great deal.
So if the way I look at it, if you really like the stuff, and granted, I'm not trying to look at it from. I know foreign markets have it worse because of shipping and taxes and all that stuff, and I know there's issues there
right.
from a dollar standpoint or from a price standpoint, but. If you like the stuff, I guess if you like it enough, you'll figure out a way that you'll want to get it somehow. And if it's not working for you and you're worrying about the dollar aspect, then maybe wait till the next thing that comes out to really make you go, I can't live without these or whatever.
Exactly.
I don't know. That's just the way I've been doing it with my collection personally.
Yep. Yeah, but if those are the price increases, that's normal.
Yeah. Yeah. So Tomas Ryberg wrote in, and we did cover the happy birthday part. And then he says, I know that not many people like the first Mondo He-Man, and I didn't either when I first saw him. But when I got him, I changed my mind. Yeah. I love their take on He-Man, and that made me start collecting the line, but just cherry picking. Yep. My Skeletor is the Keldor figure, since I can't find the regular for a decent price. Now I'm waiting for Hordak, the gray version, and have Merman and Man-at-Arms in my collection already. The figures that Emiliano Santalucia have been a part of are my favorites. Thanks for the great podcast, guys.
Thank you, Tomas. And yes, Mondo is a slippery slope, as we discussed last episode.
I'm scared. That's all I can say is I'm scared with that deluxe E-Man one.
Yeah.
And then Jason Torrance, welcome back again, Jason. He says, happy birthday. I hope you had a great day. Now that the CGI show has been released, how do you rank the animated series between Filmation, 2000X, Revelation, the CGI, Filmation She-Ra, and Netflix She-Ra? So he's really going for the gold here. Also, I could have a spin-off. Also, if you could have a spin-off of any 2 secondary characters done by the Revelation team, who would it be? I personally would like to see Evelyn and Beastman. Keep up the great work with the shows. I have really enjoyed them.
So let's do the second question first, because I need a second to ponder on the first one. But so he's saying it's got to be characters that are in Revelation, right?
From the look of it, yes. Okay. Yeah, done by the Revelation team, yep.
So out of Revelation, I would want to see Cringer and Sorceress. I want to see what they were up to. And just a limited series. I don't need like a full, but just what were Cringer and the Sorceress up to between Kabloom and, Evelyn, Tila, and Andra coming back to Grayskull. Like, that's what I want to see. They are the two that's kind of like... Because Cringer grew up a lot in that time, too. So I really want to see what they were up to during that time.
We already saw it on the show, but I'd like to explore more of it because I thought it was really interesting. I would be happy to either read or watch an Orko Evelyn like mini series, because
buddy cop.
Because it made Evelyn have a softer side of her and more like a mentor role to him, which again, never expected that. And for him to be who he is, I feel like he was drawing stuff out in her that was making her more of a she stood a chance of becoming a good guy eventually if they worked together. So I thought that would have been an interesting way.
Was that like 48 hours? Like the cop and the prisoner kind of flipped on its head a little bit. Where the evil warrior is the
It's not Lethal Weapon. It's 48 hours. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Oh, that could be fun. I'd watch that. Absolutely. As for the rankings, so he's got every animated series on there, correct?
The only one he doesn't have listed is New Adventures.
Interesting. Well, I'm putting it on there anyways. Take that, Jason Torrance. And I'm gonna start from the bottom. So at the bottom is Netflix She-Ra. Step up from that is New Adventures, even though you snubbed it. Then I'd have to go. Did we split off Revelation and Filmation, right?
Yeah.
Then, oh man, this is where it gets tough. The bottom two are easy. Ooh. Can I have like a 5-way tie?
I don't know about the 5-way tie is a little too much here. Kill your babies. Pick ones.
I'd probably have to go Revelation next, honestly. But that's with the caveat that we've only seen half of that so far.
Yeah.
So then Revelation, Mike Young Productions, CGI He-Man, and Filmation's got to go to the top. It is just it's my introduction. It's my default for all its flaws. It goes up there. I won't apologize for it. It is what it is. But like I said, those above New Adventures, that is like, we're talking grains of sand at that point.
So all right, I'll do from top to bottom because it'll be easier for me to chart it versus going the other way around.
Okay.
I think for me, no matter what, 2000X is going to be number one because that combined everything the way I liked it in that series, and right. I still wish there was a third season. Netflix, if you're listening, you're already doing some He-Man stuff. And then the next one, I'll do CGI.
Nice.
I love that thing. I love that thing way too much. And then after that, I'll say Filmation. Mm-hmm. And then Revelation right under that because those are kind of neck and neck, although Revelation might edge out depending how the next 5 go.
Right.
And then after that, it'd be She-Ra because I haven't really watched a huge amount of that. And then Netflix She-Ra's at the bottom. Too many mysteries that were landing as duds in that show for me.
Exactly.
So thank you, Jason, for writing in once again.
And if we recall, I want to revisit that question after the next part of Revelation drops because it might change sense. A bit down the road.
And then the last one is Jake Vega. And he said, thoughts on the Motu Clash for Eternia board game by Simon Games? Come on Games. Kickstarter that recently ended. I went all in and got all the expansions. The roster of the miniatures is insane.
It is.
If you ordered it too, do you think you'll paint them? Seems like it would take years. Anyway, excited for it. Now just have to wait a year or more.
I went all in. I've got all the expansions, all the terrain, all the everything coming. And there's like 100 miniatures coming in that. Oh, it's insane. I can't paint to save my life, so I will not be painting personally. I will be having them painted by a variety of customizers and fans and whatnot. So, and I was originally going to talk to one guy about painting them all, but there is literally a billion T. So I think, again, the same thing. That would take years. So I'm going to try and set up some deals with a few different people and kind of waves or whatever. But yes, my plan is eventually to have all my miniatures painted, which will probably cost me more than what the game went for. But yeah, I could not resist. I'm a huge board game fan, D&D player for many, many years. Like, this is right in my wheelhouse, and so I support it to the fullest. I went all in.
And I'm the one that's out in the cold, but that's not to say that I didn't appreciate what I saw because
it's insane.
It is a hard time to be a fan of anything right now because there's too many. I mean, my God, we talked about Turtles. Well, Turtles has how many different lines out there now? We have Ghostbusters coming back to the forefront. Transformers is out there. And He-Man. It's like, gee. And Marvel Legends, Mythic Legions, whatever you want to go with. I can't afford it all. So I thought it looked beautiful, and I would have loved to play it. But where I am, I'd only be able to play if you and I played.
Yeah.
And with our schedules being what it is, it's like it would just be sitting on the shelf for quite a while. And I couldn't afford all of it anyway, so I was like, all right, I'll look from afar and appreciate it. So
that's all right. One of these days, I'll bring my game over to your house, and we'll have a good.
Well, there we go. We'll
get Jesse over there, and
can Shawn come out to play?
Yeah,
like the old days.
I love it. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for writing in. Shawn, take us home, buddy.
All right. On today's episode, we learned that CGI He-Man is actually pretty darn cool. But yeah, definitely. If you have any opinions that are counter to us, we're always happy to hear from you because as much as we love this, we know there are people out there that they might have their issues. I'd love to hear from you as well because it doesn't have to be a love fest. It could be an actual cool discussion of what works.
And I love hearing, you might make me think of something I didn't think of. That's what I
exactly.
If you guys have different things you love, different things you noticed, like different Easter eggs we might have missed, let me know because like I said, I'm all about discussion and information. So hit us up. Where can they hit us up, Shawn?
Yeah, well, they can hit us up on Facebook. Every time I do the comments, questions, and geekdom for each episode, feel free to answer there in the group. Come onto the group. We have the questions of how you found us and everything. Please reply to those first. Otherwise we won't let you in. We want to track how you're finding us and all that stuff. You can also right here on YouTube subscribe, ring that bell, and get us to 1,000 subscribers. That's pretty darn cool that we're at that point already.
I love it.
And you can also do logpod85@gmail.com. That'll hit you up with Matt, and he'll be able to read your questions on the show. You can also find us on Twitter, logpod85 there, or Legends of Grayskull podcast. And I think that's about it. You could also private message us if you want as well on Facebook.
Absolutely.
And until next time.
Until next time, guys. Happy birthday, Shawn.
Thank you.
Oh, come on. Oh, bear. Oh.